Hey everyone, hey you guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. So a couple of days ago, someone actually a subscriber of mine sent me an email about some documents that had dropped over on KSL Investigates. These documents are the reports from when Jodi Hildebrandt's niece ran from Jodi Hildebrandt's care, from Jodi's house, because the niece had been living there, forced to live there by their parents because they were bad. They were not a good child. They needed to be counseled by their aunt because Jodi is a therapist. So Jodi's niece was made to live there, and after some time living there, attempted to run away. And these documents are the reports from that time when Jodi's niece ran away. And I will say thank you to, I don't see her here, but it was one of my subs that sent this, as well as kind of like a little script to go along with this to help me kind of put this together. So I appreciate that so much. It really does help me kind of sort everything else. So what I do want to say though, really quickly, is, this is a very heavy subject to discuss. So if this is an emotional trigger for you, then I completely understand if you decide to not view this video. Also, trigger warning, this case does involve discussions of physical, emotional, mental, ABUSE. If you are a family member or experiencing this subject, if you are a family member or are experiencing the subject we are discussing today and you need help, please do not hesitate to reach out for help. My mods do have like hotline numbers that they can post in the chat for you guys. Also, shout out, like I said, to KSL Investigates and Daniela Rivera for her time bringing these details forward in the local news with KSL Investigates in American Fork, Utah. So first, I'm just going to kind of go over everything because I don't have like the full documents. But I did read all of this. So if you go to KSL Investigates and you kind of slow everything down, you can actually read almost the full transcript of the report. I mean, they kind of flip through it kind of quickly, but I slowed it down a lot. And what I did notice, you guys, now this is the Jodi Hildebrandt's niece that appeared on Mormon Stories podcast a couple of days ago on September 7th. Jodi's niece, I'm not going to say the name of Jodi's niece. The name is out there, but I feel like since probably going public with their story, they probably have been inundated with people reaching out. So I just prefer not to put the name out there. I mean, it's out there, but now I will say that from what I noticed, that this report states that it was a family problem, but no violence. It was reported on March 9th, 2010. Get this, you guys. It was reported on March 9th, 2010, and the case was closed March 10th, 2010. And when you guys hear all the things that Jodi's niece told the police, to hear that the case was closed 24 hours later is kind of mind-boggling. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. And I'm just going to kind of read like everything, and then we're actually going to look at these documents and read from the documents, okay? So, according to KSL Investigates, Jodi Hildebrandt's niece reported mistreatment to the police in 2010 when they ran away from Jodi Hildebrandt's home. So, it seemed that they ran away from the home, did go to the police, and newly obtained police records that it reveals, newly obtained police records reveal authorities received a report of mistreatment from a juvenile in Jodi Hildebrandt's care in 2010. According to the records, Jodi's juvenile niece went to American Fork Police March 9th, 2010, seeking information about a safe house. Investigators raised questions if police authorities could have intervened sooner. This establishes proof that the police knew of allegations of mistreatment by Hildebrandt going back as far as 13 years ago. Like, the police in that area knew. Like, they have this report they could have went back to, okay? So, on March 9th, 2010, Hildebrandt's niece, who was 17 at the time, told the police that their parents sent them to live with Jodi June 2009. So June, let's see. Wow. Okay, so 9 months. Um, Jodi, Jodi had her niece in her care for 9 months at this point. Okay. And it was reported because the parents were having problems with them, and Jodi is a licensed therapist who was counseling her niece. Which I did look it up because a lot of people's like, you're not supposed to do that. If you're a therapist, you're not supposed to counsel your family members. And it is true that it's kind of looked down upon that because it could be a conflict of interest because you may not counsel um, without being biased in some way. You can't be unbiased when it comes to your family, right? However, from what I read online, it says that it's just not suggested that you do it. That if you are going to do it, or if you're a therapist and you're thinking about doing it, consult with other therapists and kind of get their take on it. Okay, so according to the report, the minor described Jodi as mean and very strict, sharing examples, including claims that Jodi forced the niece to sleep in a sleeping bag outside of the home, only allowed them to shower for 7 minutes at a time, at one point placed duct tape over the minor's mouth to prevent the teen from talking, and also limited their clothing. The teen shared with the police they had been wearing the same clothes for 3 weeks and was not enrolled in school. The juvenile also told the police that Jodi called him a liar and said they were going to be a cheap hooker one day. When asked whether or not they were being physically abused, the police asked, "So are you being physically abused?" The juvenile said no. However, in my opinion, that's not up for the child to determine whether or not, you know what I'm saying? Like the child has told you, I'm not allowed to shower. If I am, it's every 3 weeks, 7 minutes at a time. I've worn the same clothes for 3 weeks, duct tape over my mouth. I'm sorry, but you got to know that's abuse in some way, even if she's not getting punched. That's, and the police, I don't know, the fact that they would ask them to determine that, like the other things that the niece was experiencing at the hands of Jodi Hildebrandt was not enough. Like, well, is she beating you up? Well, no. I mean, all the other things was more than sleeping outside in a sleeping bag, especially in the wintertime, snow, duct tape. At no point is it okay to put duct tape over your child's mouth or your niece or nephew's mouth. That's just not okay. Now, the teen could explain some of Jodi's reported actions, but said limiting their clothing and not enrolling them in school was Jodi's methods of counseling, some of them. There were multiple failed attempts to get in touch with Jodi, but they were able to get in touch with the teen's father, who is Jodi's brother. The father said that the teen was in Utah being counseled by Jodi and claimed that contacting the police was just a ploy for them to get out of going to a wilderness camp that the father had planned to send the teen to. As for being forced to sleep outside, the father told the police, well, that only occurred one time, and that was just to show them what it would be like to sleep outside. I guess to prepare them for this wilderness camp. Like, well, this is where you're going. You got to get prepared for this. The reports indicate that the police took the teen to Vantage Point, which is a home-like facility meant to be a safe place for teenagers. The investigator wrote, I am requesting a copy of this report to be forwarded to DCFS. This is at like the bottom of the report where, the niece has detailed all these things that have been happening in the home, why they ran away, why they were seeking a safe, a safe haven, or, like not a safe haven, but a home, a shelter, why they was seeking a shelter. All these reports at the bottom, it says, I'm requesting a copy of this report to be forwarded to DCFS. So that, it documents the intent to involve Utah's Division of Children and Family Services in this situation. Now, mind you, that day when Jodi Hildebrandt's niece showed up at the police station, needing somewhere safe to go, the police questioning them, they tried to contact Jodi, couldn't talk to Jodi's brother, the father. Well, 2 weeks later, on March 23rd, 2010, Jodi did contact American Fort Police about the fact that her niece had ran away. Jodi also said we need to list them as a runaway. When the police asked Jodi why might she have ran, the niece ran away, Jodi told the police that she believed the niece ran away because she was going to be placed in a girls' home and did not want to be placed in a girls' home. According to the report, the teen's mother told the police that this was the third time the teen had ran away. The first time was on March 9th, according to the report. Police later learned that the teen had sent a message to a friend earlier that day before they ran away saying, "Dude, save me. I am trapped." On April 28th, 2010, police learned the teen had been staying at a local shelter. They learned that they was also using a fake name. They showed up at the shelter and told the juvenile that they were there to take them back to their parents. The teen was very surprised to be located and was visibly upset, crying and shaking and looking around as if they had the intent to run away. After the teen was notified, "We are going to be returning you back to your parents," they got visibly upset and was literally like looking around, like, "How can I get out of here?" So instead, arrangements were made for the teen to stay with their grandparents in Linden. While they waited for the teen's grandparents to arrive, the teen told the police that they ran away from Jodi because she made them confess their sins and tried to break them down. The teen stated, "Jodi is some kind of therapist and thinks she has all the answers, but Jodi insults me all the time in front of others and acts like I'm evil by not letting me talk to her kids or others." The teen told the police they were looking into California law concerning emancipation. The officer wrote, "I spoke to the teen about being a juvenile and that the parents are the ones in charge until you reach the magic age of 18 and can legally then be on your own." Now, here's the thing. This report was supposed to be sent to DCFS. However, American Port Police Chief Cameron Paul told KSL investigators Thursday that after reviewing department records, he found no documentation that the report was ever sent to DCFS. He said, "The police chief said, I'm going to own it. If we didn't send it, we didn't send it." And so there's a small possibility that we did, but again, I have no record of it. And we've looked at some other lists that should have something notating if we sent it, but I don't see anything. So I'm thinking that it never got sent to DCFS. Here you have a 17-year-old who's been sent to live with an aunt that's a therapist and then been sent, then runs away from the therapist aunt, claiming makes me run, duct takes my mouth, makes me confess the sins. That's wild enough. Like, if a teen runs away to the police and says, "My aunt is making me confess my sins," that's a little, that should scream like cult like. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's some cult stuff. Makes me confess my sins, doesn't allow me to talk to anyone, duct tapes my mouth, only allows me to shower every once in a blue moon for 7 minutes at a time, makes me wear the same clothes, taking me out of school. Hello, 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 hello. Like, knock, knock, knock. Is anyone there? Like, if I'm the police officer and somebody's telling me this stuff, I'm like, this is horrible. Oh, goodness. They have isolated this child so the child can't tell anyone else what's happening. And that there is abuse going on here. I don't know how you can't pick that up from what happened here. You know what I'm saying? However, the reports were not sent to DCFS. It appears. Paul noted, the American Port Police Chief, as someone who previously investigated CA, that some of the details in the report did stand out to him, including the fact that the teen asked, the teen was actually asked whether or not they were being physically ABUSE and said no. But he said, it's hard when these disciplinary things happen, like duct tape or, sleeping outside. I mean, but I don't know where putting duct tape on a child would be situational or would be like a possible way of punishment or teaching your child to do better or act right. Duct tape sleeping outside doesn't really seem that much. But Paul said, I've investigated. This is the chief of police. He at some point investigated, CA. But because the teen said no, then it's kind of hard to figure out why these things were happening. I don't know. He said, and so I personally would have asked more questions to try to figure out more of what was happening. And I would like to say that now we would have, like, we would like it now. If somebody was to come into our, police department now and say these things, we would ask more questions. We would dig a little deeper. But at the time, they did not. I do understand why this case was closed out, where she alleged that there was no physical ABUSE happening in the home. So, because she said there was no physical ABUSE, it was closed out. Paul said the officers involved no longer work for the department. He said, I think we could have dug a little bit more into what was going on. And perhaps the officers did that and just did not document it well in the report. So those details are not there. But whether it's through the report or the actions of the officer, yes, I do wish we would have taken the time to dive into this case a little bit deeper. According to the state license records, Jodi Hildebrandt was first licensed as a professional counselor in Utah in 2005. So, okay, that's kind of me kind of running over everything real quick, but we do have like some of the documents right here, right? Where you actually can read it in its own. Now, like I said, it was notated as family problem with no violence. It was reported March 9th, 2010. Case closed March 10th, 2010. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Like, wow. So right here, this is the narrative. I was contacted on 3/9 at approximately 17 hours by the blank complainant. That's Jodi Hildebrandt's niece, who we will call we'll call Hildebrandt Jr. I don't know. Her last name is Hildebrandt, so I will just go with blank. Blank regarding questions pertaining to a safe house. I spoke with blank's parents regarding the case. Blank was taken to Vantage Point on 3/9/2010 at approximately 1700 hours. I spoke with the complainant. Blank at the police department. Blank stated they is from California and has been living with their aunt, Jodi Hildebrandt, in American Fork since June 2009. Blank's parents, Scott Blank, sent Blank to Utah to live with Jodi because they were having problems with them. And Jodi is a licensed therapist who is counseling Blank. Blank was asked to explain why they wanted information on a safe house. Blank explained by saying their aunt, Jodi, was mean with her and is very strict. Blank said Jodi has made them sleep in a sleeping bag outside of their residence. Blank will only allow her to shower for 7 minutes. Hold on, guys. It's kind of hard to use they, them, and their, but I'm trying to make sure I'm conscious of this. Because the niece uses they, them pronouns. So I'm trying to be respectful to, okay. They have 2 minutes to use the restroom and brush their teeth. And they are not enrolled in school. Blank continued by saying that Jodi has called them a liar and told them they're going to be a cheap hooker someday. Blank continued by saying Jodi will not allow them to talk, and has at one point placed duct tape over their mouth so they would not talk. Blank also stated that Blank has been wearing the same clothes for 3 weeks. It'll move up in just a second, you guys. Okay, let's see. Give me just a second. Oh, let me back it up just a bit. Okay. And if they go into a room, the doors have to be left open. Blank was asked why Jodi was not allowing them to talk. Blank said because Jodi has told them that they lie and that they're a manipulator. I asked Blank for the date and the time when Jodi placed a duct tape over their mouth. Blank could not provide me with that information. Blank was asked why Jodi was calling them a liar and will only allow them to shower for a short period of time. Blank explained that, let's see. Blank explained that they have told lies before, and that was one of the reasons why their parents sent them to live in Utah with Jodi. I asked Blank to explain to me in further details as to what they meant. Blank said they was defiant with their parents and was hanging out with people they should not have been hanging out with. Blank was asked if they were being physically abused by Jodi. Blank said no. Blank was asked why they were only allowed to shower for a short period of time. Blank could not provide me an answer for that. Blank was asked why they was limited on clothing and was not enrolled in school. Blank said that was one of Jodi's methods of counseling them. I do understand. I do understand that. I just try to be respectful. It is hard though, but I try to be respectful. Okay, so here's another part of the report. Let's see, back of the hair where it's coming through. Okay. At this point, I informed Blank that I was going to contact Jodi to speak with her about the situation. So the police tells the niece, okay, I'm going to have to contact your aunt and speak to your aunt, you know. Um, okay. This is the attempt to make contact with Jodi. I attempted to make contact with Jodi several times and left her several messages to contact me. I was not contacted by Jodi. When I was not able to make contact with Jodi, I made contact with with the teen's parents. Scott. Scott is one of the parents. I spoke with Scott and informed them. So it says the mother's name here as well, but that's redacted for some reason. I spoke with Scott and mother and informed them why I wanted to speak with them. I asked them questions pertaining to what their daughter told me. Scott explained to me the situation as to why his daughter was in Utah and being counseled by his sister. Scott said his daughter is defiant and has reported to the police that she has been physically abused by him. Scott continued by saying his daughter lies and the police has done an investigation and Blank will say nothing occurred. Um, Scott was asked why his child was not enrolled in school. Scott said his child was being homeschooled. Scott explained by saying his child was not being homeschooled this semester because they were trying to get them into a wilderness program, which they named probably Anasazi, which is what Chad went to. So I would have to imagine that would be the same one. I don't know. It makes me wonder now if Chad, Ruby Frankie's son, Chad, when he was sent to the wilderness camp, if it's the same one, you know. Oh, okay, let's see. So Scott said Blank does not want to go to the program, and by them contacting the police, it was just a ploy for them to get out of it. Scott was asked about Blank having to sleep outside in a sleeping bag. Scott said that occurred one time. Scott said that only occurred one time, and this was a way to show Blank what it would be like to sleep outside. The second contact with Blank. I spoke with Blank a second time after speaking with their father and informed them of what I learned from their father, about them from their father. At this point, I informed Blank that I could not make contact with Jodi and I was going to take them to Vantage Point. I explained to Blank what Vantage Point was and asked them if they had any questions. They said they did not. And then right here, the attachments, it says a written statement from the team is attached to this report along with the intake sheet from Vantage Point. So this whole report and the intake sheet from Vantage Point was supposed to be forwarded to DCFS. It says right here, I'm requesting a copy of this report to be forwarded to DCFS. Did not happen for some reason. Okay. Now here comes the next part. Okay. For some reason, it cuts it off some, so it's kind of hard to see all of this. But this is where, right here. Okay. This shows where Jodi Hildebrandt did call in. I was contacted by the complainant, Jodi Hildebrandt, on 3/23/2010 regarding her niece. Jodi stated she needed to be listed as a runaway. So they listed the niece as a runaway, and an attempt to locate the niece was broadcasted, and she was listed NCIC. Let's see. So when Jodi called in, Jodi was like, "We need to list my niece as a runaway, and we need to put out like a broadcast, about my niece being a runaway. So if anybody comes in contact with said niece, they can contact the police." I don't know exactly what NCIC is, but I imagine it's some sort of database or something. On 3/23/2010, at approximately 17:45 hours, I spoke with the complainant, Jodi Hildebrandt. She stated her niece ran away from her home and had not been seen since 1200 hours. Jodi said blank was at work with her in Lehigh when they left. Jodi said she checked the area to include the businesses and she was not able to locate her niece. Jodi also checked with family members in Utah as well as in California. Jodi said everyone she spoke with had not been contacted by her niece. I informed Jodi to contact the bus station in Provo. Jodi said she would. I asked Jodi if her niece had any medical conditions. Jodi said no. Jodi was asked if her niece had any money with her or with them when they left. Jodi said they did not. Jodi was asked if she had checked with friends. Jodi said that she did, and that she does not know anyone other than the people who knew Jodi. Jodi was asked if there was any problems between her and her niece today that would cause her niece to run away. Jodi says she believes her niece ran away because they was going to be placed in a girls' home and they did not want to go to the girls' home. Oh yeah, that's what it is. Wow, Melissa, I don't know how I missed that. Yeah, NCIC, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Sorry. All right, come on, go ahead and scroll up, guys. All right, let's see. Hold up. Where's the other part? Come on, go back. It would be nice if the whole report would have been put out somehow, but they're only showing like bits and pieces. So I've literally been like sitting here, like trying to scroll through very slowly to get it all down. Which is why I also did that like kind of rundown with you guys. Um, okay, so this is another part of it. Another page of it. So apparently the niece contacted like one of their friends, which was a guy. It says the niece wrote a note saying that blank, this is a boy that helped blank run away from home in California. When they ran, they spent at least one night at this boy's house, maybe more. And we don't know him at all. That was actually, so this statement is from either Jodi or the parents. I think it's from Jodi. Um, so this boy was contacted on MySpace on 3/9, the first time that the niece ran away in Utah. And then he gave them a phone number. He gave the niece a phone number. And this is what the niece wrote to her guy friend. This is what the niece texted. Dude, save me. I'm trapped. I contacted blank on 4/19/10 by phone and asked for his help in locating blank. He said he would do whatever he could to help locate blank and get them home safe. Blank said blank contacted. Okay, so the guy said that Jodi's niece contacted him by his cell phone on 4/12/10. That they left a phone message that said things had gotten bad, so they left. The message said they will try to call him again later this week. Blank said the phone number they called from was blank. I provided blank with my work number and told him to call me the minute he hears from them. Okay, so I think this was Jodi that reached out to the guy. Found out this guy that was helping her niece, contacted the guy, and the guy said, "Well, yeah, I haven't seen her. I haven't seen them, but if I hear from them, I'll let you guys know." Uh, and Jodi said, "Yeah, here's my number. If you hear from her, let me know." Um, I asked Blank to give them my number and have them call me just to know that they are safe and so we can talk about their problems. Blank said he will give them the message. Blank said Blank is now going by the name of Blank so people won't know who they are. I thanked Blank for his help and the new information. So the guy friend, ratted the niece out with a new name. I contacted several other juveniles from the phone list Michelle provided, which is another adult in the situation. It sounded like the teen was no longer in Utah County, but maybe in Salt Lake area. Okay. Located and returned to American Fork. I made some calls on the evening of 4/28/10 in an attempt to contact more of the missing teen's friends from California. One of their friends felt that the missing teen was going by the alias of Rachel. I'm just throwing out names out there. And was not staying with anyone, but either sleeping on the street, waiting for a bed at a shelter, or maybe in a shelter. He mentioned something about a shelter called the Road Home. No one that I talked to had heard from Rachel for about 10 days now. I got on Google and looked up the Road Home shelters in Salt Lake and discovered there were about 4 of them listed. I discovered the one in Midvale was closed this time of year. I then called the one in blank blank and was fortunate enough to talk with a worker who recognized the name of Rachel. I asked if Rachel was at the shelter now. The worker looked on the sign-in list and said, yes, it appears that they are here right now. I explained to the worker that this was a runaway juvenile and that their parents was very anxious to get them back home safe. I asked the worker to please not let them know that the police was on their way and looking for her. The worker agreed. I contacted Sergeant Ludlow and advised him on my discoveries and was given permission to take Detective Rutch to the shelter to locate Rachel. Detective Rutch and I drove to the Road Home shelter in Salt Lake and blank contacted Rachel in the shelter. I introduced myself and called them by their name, Rachel, and told them I was here to help them get back to their parents. I told Rachel that their parents have been very worried and concerned about their welfare. Rachel was very surprised at being located and was visibly upset. Now it clips to the next part so quickly, but what you can see, hold on, and it don't. Let's see. Okay, God, I could see a part up here a while ago, like mad, f my parents. Like I wish you could really see it, but for some reason I guess the language maybe. But up here, um, 7 years old, we gathered. I hate that they didn't release the whole thing because up here you can see where the niece was like, "No, f my parents." Like said something about something that happened when they were 7 years old, and I really wish I need to try to get like the documents myself, but it cuts it off. Let's see what we can see though. Crying and shaking, said F my love me, 7 years old, the American. Okay, let me see what we actually can see. I contacted Blank's parents by phone and informed them the daughter had been located. They were very grateful and relieved. Um, I answered their questions, and Michelle and Scott Blank tried to decide what to do with Rachel at this point. They decided to have Rachel stay with her grandparents, who lived in Linden, Utah. While waiting for the grandparents to arrive at the police station, I interviewed Rachel to discover where they had been and how we can help them. Rachel, we're just going to call them Rachel. Rachel said they ran away from their Aunt Jodi because she made them run and confess the sins and tried to break them down. Rachel said if their parents try and get them back to go live with Jodi, they will run away as soon as they can. Rachel said Jodi is some kind of therapist and thinks she has all the answers, but Jodi insults me all the time in front of others and acts like I am evil by not letting me talk to her kids or others. Rachel said that she went to Salt Lake because all the shelters and resources to help homeless people. I just told them my name was Rachel. I stayed one night with some weird dude and set up on the couch all night. Rachel said she does not know his name and left the next morning. That top part, I wish you would have cut it off. This is very interesting, though, to know everything, and it never even got sent to DCFS. Y'all, this never even got sent to DCFS. Could you imagine working for DCFS? A 17-year-old running away and saying, well, my parents threw me off on my aunt. My aunt made me sleep outside in the cold, duct taped my mouth, doesn't allow me to have baths, showers. I'm not allowed to speak to anybody. And you're just going to say, and what's the problem here? Oh, okay, well, I'll take you to a shelter. No big deal. And then when like the parents push to locate the child and they call you and say, oh, we've located the child. Can you guys assist us in going to get her? Yeah, sure, no problem. We'll go get her and make her come back to somebody. Exactly. There's no excuse that this did not make the CPS. And here's what we have, you guys. Here's what we have. Let's see. We have where is it? At least this report from 10 years ago from Jodi Hildebrandt's niece. And then we know that for Ruby Frankie's house, there was multiple calls to CPS. CPS went to that house multiple times over the course of a few years. The police officers assisted them on 5 of the occasions. On 5 of the occasions, I know if a child is running away, willing to sleep on the streets and in a shelter of being at home, there's a problem. 100%. Let me see if I can find. Let's see. I think it's this one. Yes, it's this one. Where it shows. All right, let's see. Okay, here that is. What's gonna. All right, go back. My speaker is in my way. All right, let's see. All right, so here is just a log of calls or, documentation from like the police department, right? Starting, I mean, it starts at 3/11/2019, but you can see there's a date below that that looks like 2017 maybe. But okay, so 3/11/2019, there's an animal problem. Okay. 4/27/2020, citizen contact, which is probably a neighbor that contacted this is probably the first one that we're seeing here. Citizen contact. What does that mean? Probably a neighbor or someone contacted the police and said, check up on this family. Then 6/5/2020, harassment. 6-5, extra patrol. 12/21, citizen contact again. January 3rd, 2022, abandoned 911 call. That's interesting. It says abandoned 911 sale, but I wonder if it means call. Maybe someone must have called 911 and hung up, which is kind of interesting. April 16th, welfare check. Why are they doing a welfare check? Somebody called the police and asked, hey, we need a welfare check at this address. We're concerned. September 18th, another one. September 22nd, the follow-up to the welfare call. September 23rd, agency assist. So this is the police assisting CPS. So welfare checks are called in. 2022. 2 welfare checks. The police follow up with it, and then they assist CPS 1, 2, 3 more times over the next 2 months. Or actually, not even that. Not even that. Over the next month and a half. CPS, the police assist CPS out there on 3 more visits after that. Then December, another citizen contact, another person contacted, which here may have been like maybe Sherry, maybe the family, we don't know. Then August 23, agency assist again. This is the police department assisting CPS back out to the house to check on the kids. Then the very next day, a follow-up. Like, this is crazy. And this isn't even all of them, because you can see below that there's another date down here, and I can't really tell what that says, but so yeah, how many calls is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I mean, 14. We're not going to count the animal problem, but 14 times the police was out at that house from 2020, from April 2020 to September 2023. That's a lot. This definitely should have been looked into. Probably wild child survivor camps located in Utah. He just seems like all states are pretty bad. CPS is underpaid and understaffed majorly. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yep. Jodi's neighbors referred to her as a bad lady. Apparently, many others shared the thoughts. Yep. Exactly. So this is pretty wild to see these reports come out and to see that, when Jodi's niece was on the podcast, and even said, like, yeah, I ran away. I went to the police seeking shelter. I told them. I think I don't know, it hits a little harder when you actually see the report and you're like, wow, they told them that they were made to sleep outside, mouth duct tape, and the police just said, all right, I got it. So were you abused in any way? What? Was it physical? I guess if it's not physical, then I guess it's not a big deal. Really wild here, you guys, but we're going to continue to keep up with this. But when I got the email, to kind of lead me towards where these documents were, I was very interested in that, and then I wanted to bring it to you guys. We're going to continue to keep up with this case, and I will say this: um, I do try to be respectful of people, when with their pronouns. And the way that I kind of look at it is like whenever I stopped going by my real name on my channel, and I requested that people call me Elle Bee, and some people was like, I'm not calling you Elle Bee because that's not, that's not your real name, and that's not how you join the platform. You grew off your real name. And I was like, yeah, but it's just a matter of, showing a little bit of respect because I want to go by another, this other name. So I try to be respectful to people. And I'll say this, even if it's something I don't agree with, like I will still try to at least, I'm not confrontational anyway, so I just try to be respectful. And everybody deserves respect and dignity until they give me a reason to feel like they don't deserve it. You know what I'm saying? And at this point, here's the thing: Jodi Hildebrandt's niece is a victim, and their whole life has been. I mean, if you listen to the podcast, they will talk about how this abuse affected their entire life. For the longest, thinking something was wrong with them, that they were a bad person, that they didn't deserve like God's love and grace, and to even how it affects their relationships today. So I'm not going to try to be disrespectful to somebody. I mean, for what? You know what I'm saying? And I get it that it kind of makes me covering the story a little hard, because I have to correct myself and I have to stop for a second and like really think about it. But I would rather do that, and have those moments of pausing and correcting myself versus just being disrespectful. Um, yeah, I did link. So I linked KSL Investigates, and I think I have the Mormon Stories podcast linked as well. But if I don't, I will link it. So in the description box below, they should be linked. Also, the link to Kevin Frankie's attorney's interview on Law and Crime Network, that is linked as well. Writing Mom says, Elle, you know what's sad? Here where I live, sheriffs will tell your kids corporal punishment is legal unless your parents make you bleed. They don't care. I will tell you where I live as well. The police and CPS say that you can spank your kid's bottom, but you cannot spank them hard enough to leave a mark. Um, and they will tell you if you're going to spank your kids, it has to be directly on the bottom and not so hard that it leaves a mark. Oh, absolutely, Aaron. Yeah, that story. You guys pray for my friend. It is not what we thought it was, and it was something way worse. So pray for my friend. As I was working yesterday, I got the message that my friend had found her dad deceased, and we thought it was one thing, but it was actually something way worse. And I don't want to go too much into detail with it. Maybe later I might talk about it or whatever, but it's just a really sad situation. And my friend is like family to us. Like when we're going off in group chat about what's happening, my aunt is like on her way home and she's like, I'll run over there. Like, let me run over there and be with her. Because all of our family consider her family. So you guys pray for her if y'all don't mind, because this is going to be a tough, 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 tough time for her because she found her dad. Um, he lived with her. They were very close. He lived with her. She took care of him. And she came home and found him. Anyways, we're going to continue to keep up with the Ruby Frankie story. Oh no, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Aaron. Thank you so much. Um, we're going to continue to keep up with the Ruby Frankie, Jodi Hildebrandt. They have court coming up again, from my understanding. I want to say it's Monday. Is that accurate to say that it's Monday? Either way, we'll keep up with it. Anytime something comes out, if I even see little stories picked up here and there about things that I think are interesting, I'll bring it to you guys just to keep up with this story. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give this video a thumbs up and leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. And like I said, if you are not subscribed, only way out, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys later. Bye, everyone.